Welcome to Missing Persons Case Files, a place where the gone are not the forgotten. What's happening in the forests of North America? How are so many people disappearing only to have their remains found much later, or in many cases, not at all? Are the predators to blame? Giant hair-covered beasts? Or even more terrifying, us as humans? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's neither. These are just a few of the questions we'll look to uncover here on the Missing Persons Case Files.
Tom Messick Sr., birthday March 14th, 1933, disappeared November 15th, 2015. On November 15th of 2015, Thomas Messick Sr., aged 82, an ex-paratrooper, walked into the woods south of Brant Lake in New State to hunt for deer and was never seen again. No sign of him or his belongings ever turned up, including a rifle and walkie-talkie, despite an extensive search of the area. Unusually, the FBI was even involved in the investigation. This is a strange and puzzling hunting disappearance. Tom lived in the city of Troy in New York State and was out that Sunday with 6 friends and family members who were hunting near Lily Pond in an area of state land that is part of the Lake George Wild Forest. The older members of the group, 4 of them, were watchers in a static position, sat on a log or similar comfortable spot, and were in a near vertical line, whilst the younger hunters used the path around the lake to drive the deer to the watchers as part of the drive. Since the mid-1880s, Brant Lake has been a popular fishing and hunting area among wealthy visitors, including Theodore Roosevelt. Brant Lake Camp was incorporated by R.B. Gerstenzang, J.E. Eberly, and John F. Malloy in 1917. After 55 years of hunting with longtime friends, also senior men, at the Messick's hunting camp in Hague, they decided to try this area for the very first time. Tom was supposed to stay in one spot as group members walked through the woods to push deer toward him. But when they arrived at where he was supposed to be, he was gone, without a trace of him or his belongings. No sign of any deer was found that day. He wore duck boots, camouflage pants and coat, gloves, and a red and black check hat he'd worn for many years. He carried a rifle and a walkie-talkie. Tom served in the U.S. Army as a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division. He was 5 foot 10 inches tall and weighed approximately 160 pounds. He was an experienced hunter and woodsman and taught hunter and survival training for many years. He had a history of heart problems and lost an eye in an accident with an explosive device in his early 20s, so he had poor vision and limited hearing, as well as 159 stitches in his hand. He had also just gotten over a case of shingles and nearly decided to not go on the annual hunting trip. He was last seen at 10 a.m. when Messick did not show up at the agreed-upon time. His friends called forest rangers, and they searched from 4:30 p.m. on. It got dark around 7 p.m., and at that point, half the group stayed, fired their rifles, and honked the car horns to attract Tom to the area. The remaining men left the scene and reported him missing to family and the authorities. The day after Tom had disappeared on November 16th, the search started with 13 trained search and rescue professionals from the Park Service. It was well organized from the start. A huge search over several weeks involving more than 300 professionals and volunteers on some days, assisted by dogs, divers, and several helicopters, found no clues, including no sign of his rifle or his walkie-talkie. More than 4 square miles were searched, with a larger area being searched by air, with the aid of a helicopter from the State Police Aviation Unit. More than 15 agencies were involved, including DEC Forest Rangers, DEC Police Canine Unit, DEC police officers, the FBI Quick Response Team, a State Police Special Operations Response Team, the Warren County Sheriff's Office Tactical Team, and volunteers from the New York State Federation of Search and Rescue Teams. The weather was poor, with heavy rain, but sniffer dogs were deployed before the worst of the rain arrived. Searchers walked through the woods, including swamps, no matter how thick they were, and checked nearby roads, but there was absolutely nothing. Areas were tied off with string to box off specific areas, allowing a detailed search of every grid zone. It was described as a spider webs of string in the forest. Given his age, searchers were baffled as he could not have gotten far from his original location, and some said it was weird that there were no sounds of wildlife whilst the search and rescue teams were in operation, almost like something had silenced the woods. The search had many caves, crevices, and other hazards that were searched. Could he have somehow fallen into one of these? For a man of his age, was he mobile enough? Why were there no clues on the ground despite the methodical grid search? Surprisingly, the FBI arrived on the fourth day, November 19th. This was unusual as the FBI never usually gets involved in these types of missing person cases unless they fall under federal jurisdiction. They had happened on federal land, or it was believed a kidnapping was involved. Tom's wife, Beverly, said, "The FBI told me something isn't right with his case, but they don't know what. They won't share any theories if they have them. The FBI said until they make a discovery, they're never going to know." But subsequently, investigators said there have been no indications of foul play. David Winchell, a spokesman for the DEC, said rangers continue to search the area on a limited, continuous basis since a wide-scale ground search ended in January of 2016. That means rangers check the area periodically for evidence or clues. Beverly said he'd been in the woods since he was a boy, and if he got lost, he would have cut a piece of his jacket and tied it to a tree and done the other things that he had learned. His wife said her greatest fear was that he was the victim of foul play. "The only thing I can think of," she said, "is that maybe someone came in a quad, hurt him, got scared, and drove him out of there. I keep praying they'll find him so we have some closure. I keep worrying that I didn't tell him that I loved him the last day I saw him alive." In the summer of 2018, state police used sniffer dogs trained to detect cadavers to go through portions of the woods and fields near where Messick disappeared. State police investigator John Diet said no clues were found, but the police investigation was ongoing. Tom's disappearance is yet another bizarre case. Tom just vanished off the face of the planet. He was elderly, but an experienced backwoodsman, a tough guy, an ex-paratrooper, and not one to wander off into the woods when on a hunt. He had a rifle and a walkie-talkie, and no sign of them had been found despite a massive search of the area, including all the inaccessible parts, including water and caves. It was so big a search that locals thought someone high-profile or famous, like a politician, was involved. Sniffer dogs nor FLIR-equipped helicopters were able to find any trace. Was he snatched from Lake George Wild Forest by a serial killer or something? Or did he just choose to disappear, suffering from dementia or a terminal illness? The investigation into Messick's disappearance is still classified as an active missing person case by the authorities.
Tiffany, there's absolutely nothing about this case that makes sense.
Nothing at all.
This man, he was in his 80s. He was an elderly gentleman but he was also the definition of a badass.
Mm-hmm.
He was a paratrooper in the military, all this survival experience. He was a teacher of survival stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what could have happened. The man had a gun with him. He was no stranger to guns. He knew how to use them. He had a walkie-talkie with him. Could have pushed the little button on the side and called for help. None of that stuff happened. The comment that his wife made that she wishes or she hopes that someone just came in with the quad and heard him and then took him off, or she was afraid that something like that, not that she wished, that she was afraid of something like that. There were enough people in those woods that they would have heard a quad.
Right. There was enough people in that woods, they would have heard something.
They would have heard a yell for help. He could have pushed the button and asked for help. He didn't. This one has always baffled me. It's one of the first ones that I heard years ago when, probably right after I started looking into the whole Bigfoot heavily, around 2019. It was around that time, 1920, that I heard about this one. It was one of the first ones when I started looking into the missing 411 from David Pilatus. And this one has always stuck out to me for a few reasons, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of this case. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's all strange to me because they had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people searching for him, including the FBI. Why did the FBI come in? It's like it said in this article, they don't usually come in to look for these people. And the grid search they did by using strings and everything like that to ensure that all of this was searched, and there's still nothing, no footprints, no clothing. He just vanished into thin air. It's like if you look at everything that they deployed for him, and I'm not saying it's wrong that they did, because I'm glad that they did, but if they did that for every missing person, we may have better outcomes for them. It's just strange.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. You guys, those of you that have followed the channel or followed me and since I started in 2019 with Manimal Research, those of you that have been with me for a while have heard me talk about the few times, it's happened 2 or 3 times now, that I have been in the woods on expeditions and heard this strange metallic sound, this kind of a metal sound that just stands out because you're in the woods. Everything is made of wood. There should not be any metal anywhere. And that's something that's always bothered me, was the sound that either one or a couple, I don't remember exactly how many people heard it, and you didn't talk about it in what you just covered. But one of the things I remember most about it is that sound of that metallic sound. Someone said it sounded like a trap door slamming shut or an old car door slamming shut. And there was nothing like that around. No. What could that have been? That's always stuck out to me because I have heard similar sounds in the woods, and it's been in areas where Bigfoot was prevalent.
Right. And the gentleman said, I heard a strange noise in the woods, but I don't know what it was. It was a different noise from what I usually hear. Well, these people are in the woods all the time and have been in the woods all the time. So you can take what they tell you to the bank.
Oh, yeah.
Strange noise. Did the ground open up and take him in? Because they even had, and as in all missing person cases, the weather sucks. Okay.
Yeah. It's just what the hell is up with that? A weather front come in the next morning, right?
Yes. It's par for the course. But luckily in his case, they were able to get the dogs out to try to search for him before that happened. However, even with the FLIR on the helicopter, there was no sign whatsoever of a warm body or anything. It's like in that whole area where they had stationed, he just vanished.
Now, you've heard, y'all have heard us talk about several of the cases we've done. We don't want to tie Bigfoot as a possibility to those. I'm leaving it open in this one because of just how strange all this is. It's like something got the jump on him.
Yes.
Something got him before he could push help on the walkie-talkie, before he could draw his weapon, before he could scream. Something snuck up on him and got him completely out of there without making a sound and without leaving a trace. Now, this happened in New York, right?
Yes.
And from what I heard, it's not terribly far from Whitehall.
Right.
Whitehall is the Bigfoot capital of New York. There, the area that this happened in, there's tons of Bigfoot reports from the BFRO. I think the 3 counties that surround this area, the county that's in, and then the 3 that surround it, if I remember correctly, someone will help me out if I'm wrong. I think there's like 13 BFRO reports in those counties. So people are seeing something out there. This man, and didn't you read, Tiffany, that this is a place that they typically didn't hunt?
This was their very first time in Hague doing this area for deer. It was they went somewhere else for 55 years, and this was their very first time doing this one. So it's uncharted territory, but woods nonetheless.
Yeah. And if you're a predator, and I don't know that Bigfoot is, I don't know what their purposes would have been for taking this man, but if you're a predator, what are you going to single out on a hunt? The easiest, yes, the weakest, the easiest one to snatch without a problem. He was 82 years old. The man was blind in one eye and deaf in one ear. He was the easiest one.
Well, and he had, I think, or that wasn't the injury on his hand. He had just gotten over the shingles. So he was not as quick on his feet as he probably would have been.
Yeah, so, I mean.
And Bigfoot are stealthy.
They are. And I could just be jumping to a big conclusion there because people are going to ask, well, how the hell does Bigfoot know that he was just getting over shingles or that he was blind in one eye unless he got close enough to him to tell? I don't know. It's just, that's what I think about when I think about predator activity going after prey, is they pick out the weakest one. And from everything I've heard, that would have been Tom in this case.
Well, if you look at that animal mentality, look at a wolf and a sheep. You have a whole flock of sheep, one wolf, and it knows exactly what sheep is the weakest one of the whole entire bunch. So if we put Bigfoot as having that portion of animal mentality, would he be able to pick up on that as a wolf does with sheep or any other prey in the woods?
Yeah. I mean, possibly. It's weird, man. This case, like I said, it's one that I've known about for a while. Haven't really researched it or anything up until now, but I'm familiar with it. And when you mentioned it, yeah, I remember just a few days ago, you text me and said, this Tom Messick case we need to do together.
Right.
Instead of, by ourselves, because there's going to be a lot to talk about in this case. And I agree 1,000%. This, I don't know where else to go.
No, I would be interested, and I know they did interview that one guy. David Politis did interview one member of that hunting party, but I would be interested in hearing from the other people who were there and what their opinion of everything is, or sounds that they might have heard that was similar to what this gentleman heard. Because it's like you said, you hear that metallic sound anywhere where there is a Bigfoot, and you hear people talk about hearing that sound also in the LBL. And what's in the LBL? Bigfoot, Dogman, is it all related to the same, and what in the hell is it? It's like, does it just suck people up? Is it an opening to a portal? Is it,
Yeah.
we don't know.
When I first heard the person talk about, they described it as a trapdoor slamming shut. That's what I envisioned, was a damn door, a metal door going into the earth somewhere, somebody or something grabbing him, taking him to this door, opening it up, throwing him in there, and going in and slamming the door shut.
Yes, and I saw it, and I can't remember, and somebody may be able to help me out. It wasn't Expedition Bigfoot that I remember. If it was, and I'm wrong, it's okay. But they were using the LiDAR scanner on the ground. It may have been Expedition Bigfoot, but it looked like on the forest floor, it was concrete. Like there were pipes leading up for gases to go out of. And it was like you could go in the ground. Like there was some kind of secret base under there.
Damn, I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I saw that.
It's been a minute since I've seen it, but I remember that. And it just makes me wonder if, in fact, it is something like that. The only reason they found it was that LiDAR scanner or the ground penetrating radar.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know something else, Tiffany, that I don't tend to give a whole lot of thought about because I'm not as interested in it as these other topics. But what about UFOs?
Yes.
Like him being abducted.
It happens. And you hear 1 minute, gone the next. I think you have to put that into the realm of possibilities in this case too, because he was by himself. What if the metallic sound they heard was something with, and I know it's a stretch. I tell you how crazy it sounds, but what if it's the sound of the door?
Yeah, guys, we're not a couple of these crazy nut conspiracy theorists that jump straight to conspiracy cover-ups, UFO, cryptids. That we don't jump straight to that. We try our best not to because we want to be respected, and I just don't have a whole lot of respect for the people that do that jump straight to the weird right away. But looking into this case, you've got to consider something paranormal with this. This man knew what he was doing. Like his wife said, he would have torn off a piece of his clothing and hung it up somewhere for someone to find. He didn't get lost.
Yes.
Now, I heard the word dementia mentioned. Was it said that he was suffering from dementia? I haven't heard that.
It was not. It was thrown in there, and and Lord love them, because I don't write these articles. I just find them on the internet, make sure they're credible, and then we read them. They throw in the word dementia, or, he was on medication, or he had talked about this in the past or this in the past, and it just throws shade all over it, and people don't dig any further. There was nothing else found about Tom Messick Sr. that he had dementia or that he had any terminal illness whatsoever.
Yeah, if his family's trusting enough for him to walk, okay, we're going to let Tom walk by himself 100 yards away from the next guy and 50 yards into the woods with a loaded, deadly weapon in his hand, and we're going to go out and push deer his way and let him shoot at those deer, then they had to have faith he was in his right mind.
Exactly.
I wouldn't hand someone with Alzheimer's, especially an Army vet or a military veteran that could possibly have a flashback, I wouldn't hand them, if they were suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's, or anything like that, I wouldn't hand them a loaded weapon and then go into the woods with them.
Exactly. And if he were suffering any kind of anything, the people he were with would not have allowed him to do the same either. They would have picked up on something. They wouldn't have even let him walk away from them if they picked up on something being wrong.
Yeah. I feel with all my heart that his family did not think anything was going to happen on this day, because there was also reports, or not reports. I want to clear that up right now. There were no reports. It was speculated by some people that he wasn't even there. He was never there. That this is a cover up. Something happened to him, and they come up, the family and the friends come up with this story. Well, first of all, you got to have 7 or 8 people to all agree to the same story, to have held strong to that same story for what's it been, 9 years now? Almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if polygraphs have been given to any of these people or not, but they have never been questioned as to have done anything wrong. So I think you can throw that out.
Right.
I think that's just silly. But it is a fair question. I think it has to be asked. Is it possible that something happened to this man on the way and then everyone else tried to cover it up? I mean, I think that's a fair question, but I do not think for a second that that's what happened.
Right. I don't find that to be plausible either.
Because his son was one of the people that was with him. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that shit with my dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, people have to take the information, and that's what Wayne and I do. We take the information that we find, that we're given, and we try to find the truth. You know, we don't jump on, like he said, we don't jump on the bandwagon of UFO, Bigfoot, Dogman, immediately. And you have to look, in essence, at this article. All of the logical stuff was done.
Mm-hmm.
They did all the logic. And there's nothing logical about this case.
Yeah, that should be the header for this video. Nothing logical about this case.
Right. It doesn't make any sense how he can just walk into the woods and disappear.
It just sucks too, because you look at a picture of him and he just looks like this sweet grandpa that we all have an image of a grandpa, and it's this dude. When you look at the picture of him, he just looked like a good man that had lived his life, served his country, had his wife, his kids, his grandkids, and was just living out the end of his life, doing what he loved, going out with family, hunting, and then just steps off the planet somehow.
Yeah. Just like he never existed.
It's not fair. The man deserves more than that. It's
not. And I really wish that, they searched the water and the caves and the crevices. I mean, it's mind-boggling, because they literally searched everywhere for this.
Yeah, they left no stone unturned.
I don't know how else to explain it, but it's like Albert Osman in 1924. Now, granted, that I know of, he didn't have anybody searching for him. But just as quickly as he claimed to be picked up and thrown over the shoulder in a sleeping bag, and he was gone for 6 days. I mean, they're stealthy. They're quiet. Yeah. They're fast. It's hard to tell.
I don't know. Are there any other points you want to hit on, Tiffany? I don't want to beat a dead horse.
No, that was pretty much all.
Yeah, guys, this one is crazy. And of all the ones that we've done so far, this one is the one so far that I lean more heavily on a paranormal or a cryptid related disappearance.
Yeah, me too.
All right, guys, if y'all have any suggestions, any cases that y'all would like for Tiffany and myself to cover, please hit us up. You can get Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com. You can get me at Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com. Just let us know what you think about these. If you want us to keep doing them, any suggestions on future ones, rate and review every chance you get. And all that good stuff. Until we see y'all again, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye.